Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on the Fair Compare Weekly Video Podcast, number 25 actually for this episode. I can't believe we've actually cracked more than 24 eggs here. And we're going to chat a little bit today on this video podcast about another airfare hike success. We detected that last Friday, actually last Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Spirit dropping their bag fees. Now, let's not get too excited yet. If you're familiar with the carry-on fees with Spirit, we'll have to give you what the details of that are. We'll also be talking a little bit about one of my favorite topics, which is avoiding crappy food when flying. And we'll also take a question from a customer. Hopefully, we'll get more of those questions. I'd like to add 2 or 3 if we could sometimes to the podcast. And joining me today to talk about these topics is our editor from the site at Fair Compare, Ann McDermott. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Rick. Another day, another airfare hike. Why don't you begin with that?
It's been really pretty strange, right? So we had airlines making record profits last year. We had, a report from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics that said third quarter prices were dropping last year, and we've talked about what dropping means in another podcast. So most of us that are out there shopping, that we haven't seen any price drops, I think one of the things that people don't necessarily understand, one of the things that we track all the time is what's going on with airfares, is that you have 4 airlines controlling 80% of traffic. In order for an airline to hike all their fares, and there's literally more than a dozen fares on any given route, they have to get all the other airlines to match them. So if they're $1 more, just if you come to Fair Compare, you're going to be on page 40 of shopping results, right? And so you can't stay there very long, or you start to lose bookings. And a lot of these hikes have been anywhere from the $3 and this more recently in the $5 each way range. All the airlines participate, some initiate. We've seen Delta initiate a few. Southwest came in last Friday initiating a new hike. Delta tried one last Wednesday that rolled back. It's pretty interesting, actually, because I haven't seen this kind of volume of hiking really since just after sort of the Great Recession was coming to an end, and we saw some hikes, in 2010 and 2011, and even back towards 2007 before we saw the fuel crisis in 2008. So, again, the airlines are probing. They have to make sure the other airlines have to raise prices as well along with them, and they have to also have to make sure that consumers are continuing to buy tickets as well, because if it stunts demand, raising the prices didn't help them any.
Well, you said it. I mean, we're in the third week of February, and we've already this year alone seen 5 airfare hike attempts, and most of those have been successful. All of 2015 was only 5 airfare hike attempts. I mean, this is going to be, do you think it's going to be a record year?
I don't know. I just can't see it sustaining this. I mean, I look at the economic numbers for the country and sort of tepid, and I don't know where this extra demand is coming from. I think a lot of it has to do with people having some extra money in their pocket because fuel prices are so low when they go to pump some gasoline in their cars. Maybe some pent-up demand from last year. It's hard to say exactly, but I would expect oil prices to go up a little bit. As the year progresses. I don't think they can stay at the $30 level for the completely for the rest of the year, but they might. It's hard to tell nowadays what that's going to be. I used to be in the 90s in the oil and gas business, so I know a little bit about that. And I just don't see this happening. Maybe they'll probe. They've been batting 600 so far this year. For those people that are baseball fans out there, that's about 60%. Historically, they would have been batting around anywhere from 100 to 200, or 10 to 20% on hikes. So I do expect them to continue to try. I'm just not sure how many of them will stick.
I'm just wondering, do you expect there might be a passenger backlash? And I only say this because news story after news story has been trumpeting how the airlines are making billions, and yet they're raising prices.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the consumer can actually do in this particular case. Other than not taking as many trips. So, to the extent that consumers continue, I would expect prices to continue to fall slightly for longer haul trips, like transoceanic trips, either Pacific going to Asia or Atlantic to Europe. I think that Zika virus is going to at least have some nominal, change in some of the as we go into sort of the off season for some of the tropical countries. So, I wouldn't expect it to continue at this pace, but I was wrong earlier in the year, and I sort of said that there would be 4 or 5 like last year, and it looks like in the first 6-7 weeks of the year, they've already reached what I think is the maximum. So if it's to hold, I don't think we'll see a bunch of these hikes actually sticking the rest of the year.
Okay. I assure you this is a headline that you've probably never, ever seen before. Most of us have. Spirit drops bag fees. However, as you said earlier, don't get too excited.
Yes, this is on the military, and it's high time, by the way. Remember how, I don't remember exactly when it was, but there was a big dust-up with the second, third, and fourth bag fees with some airlines about, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, where they were charging some folks, some military folks coming back, and there was a variety of people upset with that, and then pretty much all the airlines now have unlimited free bags for military personnel. Looks like Spirit's joining that finally.
Right. These are active military personnel who are traveling, and they do not have to pay the fee for carry-on bags. They do not have to pay the fee for 2 checked bags. And this is a rather radical savings for these folks because, as you know, the checked bag can cost anywhere from about $30 up to $100 if you are so unfortunate to have missed the fine print where if you pay at the gate, you pay $100 for a carry-on. So don't do that. Pay as soon as possible.
Yeah, Spirit is one of the airlines that you definitely, if you're not going to be taking a backpack and sliding under the seat, you need to buy the stuff ahead of time. Otherwise, if you get to the airport, the price goes up dramatically. And for those people that fly Spirit, and there's a lot of people that do this, one of the fastest growing airlines the last 4 or 5 years. They've sort of learned the gig, but if you're a first-time traveler, be sure and check out some of the posts on our site. Make sure you do it the right way the first time.
One more thing I want to add about that real quick is the Military Times quotes the new Spirit CEO, Robert Fornaro, as saying, "This is the first of many steps Spirit is taking to improve overall customer service." So who knows? Maybe there will be something for the rest of us.
Yeah, that's not the kind of letters we used to see from Ben Baldanza out at Spirit before. So you can go back and look at the history of that if you'd like. Some of that would not be for consumption on this rated PG podcast.
That is okay. How to avoid crappy food when flying. How do you avoid it, Rick?
It's tough to avoid. As you can see, Ann, I'm not the smallest of humans, and just generally avoiding crappy food is difficult. But, one of the interesting things is there's lots of myths, and I know as you were working on this particular article and the research on it, some of those myths, actually, I had sort of thought were actually true myself about calories being consumed on planes don't count, for example.
We're weightless on planes. That's another good one I love.
Yeah, dieters always get a pass for travel days. Yeah, you cannot bring food from home on a plane, for example. Those are all myths. Again, you'd be surprised actually. A lot of the airports are starting to cater to the people that eat better and some of the other things. But you can bring stuff from home, and a lot of people do. You have to be careful about the liquid part of that. But in general, it just depends on the airport. I was just recently in a small airport in Durango, Colorado, and basically your choice was the vending machine. So in some airports, basically you're avoiding it because they have no food.
Yeah, that's true. If you could, we have, by the way, on this post about crappy food, avoiding crappy food, that is, we've got a nice video that uses some recipes from Food Babe for real simple do-it-yourself, bring from home snacks and foods, including sandwiches and bringing little things of hummus, and it's got some good stuff. But we also have a couple of things on fast food. what the big things will cost you calorie-wise and what you can get instead. And this includes those big, that chain pastry that is so delicious. I'm not going to mention its name, but they actually have a few things that are as little as 260 calories, and they are very tasty, I can assure you. Plus that popular pizza chain, we tell you, eat this, don't eat that. But we also have a big list of restaurants, good restaurants, and links to them in
some of the most popular airports. Yeah, no. Look, and in fact, what we're seeing, Ann, is we're getting snacks back on some aircraft. So, there's a difference between crappy and not crappy there too. And it looks like at least they're going to start adding back some meals onto aircraft as well. And a lot of the airlines, I've seen Virgin America does a great job with some of the food and sort of the California taste buds that are there. So, look, there's lots of stuff going on that they're trying to cater to sort of the new generation, the millennials, and a variety of other folks that are trying to eat better. And we're going to see this trend continue, I think, for the next, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay, as always, we have a question from a customer, and I know you love these. And
I do actually.
This guy says, "Hey Rick, I saw your article, January 20th, dates to remember for the cheapest flights of 2016, and that was a good one Rick wrote, and anybody, if you go find that, bookmark it." Anyway, he says, "Thanks for the heads up," and he points out that August 23rd is, according to our post, the first day of the cheaper fall season to fly, and this gentleman is trying to make hotel reservations at Glacier National Park, which is a beautiful place. I've been there. He wants to know if he should leave on the 23rd or if he should wait to the 24th, just in case, he says, the airlines change their mind. He says time is of the essence because the park hotel is filling up.
Yeah, well, first of all, those hotels fill up really quickly, right? So I'm looking for a calendar here, right, so I can see what day of the week that is. Yeah, so the 24th is a Wednesday. Yeah, so either that 23rd or the 24th, I would definitely work on the 24th, which is a Wednesday, because it's a cheaper day to fly on that particular day in general. So I would definitely do it on the 24th. If you can go midweek, the perfect time to go is the 24th. Different airlines are different. That August 23rd date is some airlines are the 23rd when the prices drop, some are the 24th. So I'd go with the 24th just to make sure.
Okay, but he should definitely compare fares, right? And maybe
absolutely. For example, the 24th versus the 25th is going to be a difference because Thursday's a bit more expensive to fly on, and depending on what day it comes back as well. So definitely, I think the 23rd is actually probably fine, but I would go with the 24th because Wednesday's a little bit cheaper.
Okay, and if anybody else has a question, please send it to customer.service@farecompare.com, and Rick will be happy to help you.
Yeah, remember that late August date? It sort of roughly corresponds when kids get out of school, and it's both domestic and international. You see the big price drop on international as well. So for both those, and then the other dates are in the middle of May, early the second week in June as well. So that's when prices go up. So if you can slide your trip in early, sort of May or June or after August 23rd, you're in good shape.
You got something to say about Adventurist?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was looking at the app this morning. Every morning before the podcast, I'm in there checking out some of the new destinations. I think we have over 60 now in the app, so that's really cool information about places to go where to do that. So check that out, farecompare.com/app on any of your phones, both Android and iOS. And we actually aren't going to lock the phones or anything. We have no issues with the FBI with our app. So don't call us. Call Apple if you have an issue with your app.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks.